this is probably a very undervalued opportunity. Of course, not financial advice. I'm not telling you guys to rush out and buy a VivoPower right now, but knowing what we know, right, knowing that all this money's gonna be pouring in, knowing that they're in a poor debt standing position right now. They're very cash poor as a company as is, and they're making a giant pivot from their existing infrastructure to something that's hyper crypto focused and related. This is probably going under a lot of people's radars right now. So of course, we have 2016 launch. 2017 is kind of when we start seeing some activity on the actual exchange here. So December 2016, but then you start to see 2017 kind of really the better part of it there. And this is some of the things we look at even in the smaller cap realm for crypto, or maybe some of the dexes. You see some of this low liquidity stuff in here, right? It doesn't really show a lot of true volume in here. You're not seeing a lot of excitement behind it, but we do see some big rallies here in 2020 through 2021. We actually broke into new all-time highs here. So let's bring our Fibonacci into this, and let's just go from the launch price, which was quickly eviscerated. We have a clear double bottom in here for 2018 as well as 2020, and we reach out to, first of all, 1.618. We actually spend quite a bit of time below that, but you actually always reach out almost perfectly to the 3.618 back here in 2020 before, of course, coming in for a retrace and then seeing some really aggressive depreciation from there. You guys can see recently, even from the low that was set over in here, that you've crushed those lows. You came down to 76 cents from there. So little double, triple bottom here in 24 and 25. I would say that you pretty much have found a bottom in there. You also saw a pivot zone here that was also cleared out, $1.96, showing some good strength there. Started to trade above those major MAs. You're butted up against some serious resistance right now, though. So if we bring our Fibonacci down to the actual lows that were struck, you guys can see that currently we're below the 236 here, right? So you guys can see that, $17 mark again from that previous high. But if we bring this in and we treat this how we would treat pretty much everything else in the crypto sphere, 236 right around $57 would be the true 236 in there. I think that there's also some big imbalance here that got left behind where you had all this support and you had that breakdown in there. So I think it's a little lofty right now, even though from a macro perspective, some of the other factors that we talked about probably presenting a good macro opportunity. 325 would probably be my entry point where I'd want to see a pullback down to that area. And I would be playing this as a swing trade up into this imbalance. It's over a 10, 11, almost 12x, looking at how deeply you go into this from like that 335 mark. So again, should you eat into this just because there's some exciting narratives? No, of course not. But there could be good risk reward if you guys are patient for a pullback. And you might be front running some investors that are not privy to this very small cap opportunity, as potentially things progress here. So I'm excited for it, and I'm going to keep an eye on this chart for sure.